G'day team, I thought I'd jump in for a quick update today just after the weekly's closed. We haven't seen much in the last 7 days. The market's been moving sideways quite slowly. Very low volume, lots of whipsaw action. So for me, it's a bit of a no trade zone. I don't like to get into these sort of dangerous sideways areas. A lot of day traders have been able to capitalize on that, so that's great. But for me, I've been staying out and just watching the markets as a whole. We've got our Bitcoin positions and our altcoin positions, which I'll get to later, which are actually moving nicely. So let's jump into Bitcoin here. So I wanted to just quickly talk about these zones and what I don't like about them and what the opportunities and that are from them. So you can see here, I've just got one example of what you'd call a classic stop run hunt, and then price coming up to make some highs there as well. So we've got the low here, which was respected, and then all of a sudden, boom, heaps of volume, stops hit, price regains straight up. Now, if you're trading that, you're probably adding longs in here. That's why there was such a good stop run here, because a lot of people they're adding longs in along this support, stops, and then there was no resistance there, price is back up. So it goes straight down and straight back up. Now we're sort of seeing a similar thing happen here with this. I'll mark it out properly so you can see. With the low here, we just saw that wick straight through it. Boom. Taking out all of those stops again, and now price back up again. So we're seeing the 4-hour cycle come down. It's nearly bottoming out. We'll see how low it goes. So there's a good chance that low will hold now after all those stops are run. There should be more liquidity on the buy side as opposed to the short side, at least in the very short term. This is not long-term analysis by any means. So, and that's what we've really seen this is about the last week we've seen here. Really just that stop run, move up, sideways for a long time, for 5 days, quick move up to pi, and then wick to the 200. The 200 was acting as support. Now it's acting as resistance. So we'll have to see where that ends up taking us. So that's the 4-hour. Let's jump into the daily. When you zoom out more, you can sort of see how volatile the market's been in that little range there, and that's something I think is a candidate for continuation here, is this sort of area really filling out. Like, I marked this obviously last week as the likely pivot there. If we came down, it's bounced off that, and it's been respecting that there, so it'll be interesting to see if that holds. We've still got this lower high pattern happening here. We've got a higher low here, so you could argue that it's squeezing, but I don't think so. I'm more looking at this zone here, because if you marked your trend line, let's say a few days ago, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's your trend, and then boom, it just breaks through. So I'm really more watching this horizontal zone and the lower highs. So the lower highs, if they squeeze down further, say on this cycle, because the daily's low and it's just turned up, and then it rolls over again, potentially breaking that. It'd be nice to see a push up into this actual resistance zone here in the red there. We didn't get that on the last move up. It never made it that high, just bounced off the top of the bands. So we're sort of just bouncing off the top of the bands at the moment. Pi and the 200 are still a very long way away on the daily. So and look, they're coming down here, and that's probably a pretty fair trajectory. It's probably going to be quiet for a while until we can break up above this resistance. Like, all the bulls know that if we get up above that, there's nothing between there and the 6K sort of zone, really. Like, let's just zoom out a bit more on the weekly. I'll just clear everything off so it's... So you can see the weekly, it's been very volatile in the last few weeks. But this very last week here, this week, has been pretty quiet. Like, not much movement there. $300 movement all week, coming off the back of some high volatility moves there. So it's possible that we're going to see like this sort of pattern, like higher volatility into lower volatility, and then really like in there we had a long period of a very contained range before we broke down. I'm not trying to suggest or insinuate that I think we're going to break down next time, probably more likely on the upside in my opinion, but I am saying that we might be seeing some more of this volatility come out for a while, until we do break up from that level as well. We've got some very strong resistances in here. But after we break them from 4.4k right up to the low here at 5.7, that's a pretty golden zone. There's nothing really in the way there. So I'm actually pretty optimistic that if we do break through that and hold on this resistance here, or even this resistance here, that we get quite a quick run up to some of these other resistances. Now, we might break down, and then we might hold in here, or we might come back for a double bottom, or we might break lower again. I'm not trying to speculate on the future like that. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do expect it to be a little bit boring for a couple of months probably, or at least boring until we break out on the upside, or again on the downside. Now, if we break down the downside, could be very exciting, and likewise on the upside. But there's a good argument here for a lot of sideways trading. Which is why I'm sort of just, the weekly cycle's really low, right? People are getting bored of crypto, so for me, this is, if any time, where I'm taking my paycheck and putting money into Bitcoin as the weeks go on. Like at 6k, it was a pretty decent investment. At 3k, I'm not a financial advisor, so you're free to make up your own mind on what you think of Bitcoin as an investment. But the cycle is definitely low. I've got my position set and my bias set as well. So we'll see how all of that plays out. And I'm really hoping for a nice trade, at least up to this resistance level. You can stay pretty flat in this zone if you're not wanting to get whipsawed, or be building that long-term position as well. So those are sort of your couple options there. And since we really only moved $300 on Bitcoin last week, there's not a whole lot to say. So let's jump into some alts. I'm not sure what happened to my my chart here. I actually had all this marked out. I might do it again now. So yeah, Ontology, we were buying. It's up now from our entries, which is nice. We've had to wait a while. You can see it's over a week now, and it is not up very much. 6-7%, not bad. We're seeing the similar pattern here, but instead of making those lower lows, alts have been scooping up and making higher lows. And now some alts are still making the lower highs, and some have actually broken out and are going like this more. So that's the play here, right? We've been accumulating alts that haven't broken out yet, and we're going to see if they follow alts like Cardano and Zil, who have made those moves, put in those lows, and then ended up breaking out and making quite decent moves to the upside. So as Cardano, it looks like the trend there is a little bit broke down. I pointed this out in the video last week. So that's last week. We haven't seen much of a move in price, but it's looking pretty, yeah, to me that's looking, it is looking weak. I don't know what's gonna happen. You could do anything in crypto, but you just take your bets where the odds are in your favor, and that sort of trend breaking now. Such a large difference here on the stochastic for such a small difference in price. There's some good support now too, which buyers will be looking at. So you've got quite a fair move down to there. Possible. That's where I'll be buying some more Cardano anyway, because, and you can see it's actually coming off these old areas as well. So that support's really quite a big one. And then of course you've got the low there if you want to. But I'll be adding into Cardano there. And I've just been patient. I think I first talked about it here, and I didn't want to buy. I'm sure it's come up a little bit. Now it's back down to about where I didn't want to buy. So potentially you could start adding on these tops. But look, I'm looking for opportunities. I'm not just Like I'm invested enough that I don't need to just keep adding aimlessly. That's not my game. ICX the same, little move up. Again, we're getting we've pretty much made a flat low there, but you can see the trend is sort of up with the highs coming down. Zilliqa the same. It broke through our first buy zone, which I talked about a lot. I said it's very, very possible for us to break out of this, break down on this zone here, because this is where we were buying, and head down towards here. Now we're back above those entries, so we'll see where it goes. Again, like this weekly cycle is so low. You can see what's been happening on Zilliqa this whole time too. Like, we'd be hoping for another cycle up like that. Something similar. We'll see. I think it's highly likely that it's going to be a lower move. I think we're coming into the boring phase here. So we'll see where it goes, and we'll be tracking it. But there's still a beautiful move there. Like, I'm pretty excited about these trades at the moment. I don't know where they're going to go. But we've got great entries on high probability trades in my book, so we'll see. Zil again is like Cardano. It's just really knocking on the roof here. It's looking better than Cardano. Like, that was a stronger move up there, but we'll see how it goes as well. Another one that I was looking at in this sort of zone here, and it wasn't for me. As I said, I've got all these opportunities. And now if it retraces back in there, we can buy, or even get on top of it and sort of keep it as a hedge down if you want. So those are all the open alt trades. Just jump back on Bitcoin. So it's hard to say what's going to happen next. In my book, we're probably going to be heading into a little bit of a boring spell. So the trades I've got on at the moment, I mentioned to you all that I'm hoping to hold them for a long time. They're meant to be long-term plays, not quick moves. So we'll see how they all end up. We've got the daily cycle low now on Bitcoin, so we might see another move up into this resistance, this sort of lower high pattern. We'll see if we can break that. And I'm kicking back, I'm relaxing, looking at the markets all the time. We're not seeing much movement, so I'm really stacking up long-term positions now. And when markets get boring, people stop trading them all the time, and blah, 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 and people stop investing, and it's always the opportunity, right? That's always where the opportunity is. It's where people are just sick of it. That's when you really clean up, and that's what's happened every time in the past, and that's what I plan on making happen again. So I'm really pumped. I'm looking forward to it. We got the Boss Crypto trading course, the strategy, the Boss Crypto strategy. I'm uploading it today, actually. So I'm super excited about that. You guys will be able to get access to that soon, which is awesome. Alex has been working his ass off on that, and that's going to be, we want that to be the best hands down course for intermediate to advanced traders in crypto. We've got our fundamentals there, and now you've got the strategy to add to that. I'm super excited. So it's going to be a big week this week. It's great to talk to you guys, even though it is a one-way conversation. I'll talk to all of you guys in the Slack that are in the private channel. So awesome. Enjoy the rest of your week, guys, and I'll be talking to you soon. See yous.